We are halfway home at the Olympic Games 2024 in Paris, France. We will be having on a special guest here, Greg Gomez, longtime listener, first time caller. He is in France this week, taking in the Olympic Games. He's going to tell us all about the first round, being out at Le Golf National, what the course was like, what the vibe was like, and how good Xander Schauffele and Hideki Matsuyama looked, because they are right now boat racing the field. All right, let's tee it up. There he is, the man, Greg Gomez, enjoying Paris, France. First of all, we got to ask you, how's the culture been? Is there a lot of Americans around? Are you surrounded by a lot of French people? Is there just a freaking smorgasbord of just all random people? I see you got your bag on you. You're really vying into the European culture there, looking comfy. I like it. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Of course. Thanks for having me, boys. Good to see you again. But yeah, as far as the trip thus far, pleasantly surprised. I know there's a lot of rumors out there that the French can be a little rude to Americans, to say the least, but super hospitable so far. I feel like the Olympics has something to do with that, but for the most part, everything's been good, and run into a decent amount of Americans, whether it's on the subway or at the stadiums. So far so good. Nothing out of the ordinary.
How bad does it smell?
The subway actually stinks pretty fucking bad, if I'm being honest. I don't know if you guys have been to New York City, but I would say probably a little worse than that, mainly because it's probably it definitely is an older city. So I'm sure that has something to do with it.
What I was going to say is, if the French have been nice to you, they must have not heard your sports takes yet then.
Hey, I'm on their side with Wembanyama, so they love me when I open my mouth.
Yeah, you got
that dude's the best big man in the NBA, so.
You've got that San Antonio, France connection there, so I can appreciate that. But I don't think they've heard of the Dallas Cowboys if they've been watching the NFL for the last 30 years. So,
yeah, we don't talk about that team outside of the state of Texas. Just knowing the conversations me and you have at the least, yeah, I'm not bringing that up. So,
very good. Okay, so before we get into the golf, what is your favorite food, Ben, that you've tried over there? Is the food that good? Like the cheese, the wine, the bread, all of that shit?
Not a big wine drinker, but the wine here is good. Definitely better than the U.S. I would say the best thing I've had, honestly, is steak frites, which is essentially just steak on French fries. The beef here, though, is very tender and more rich. Almost, I would compare it. I don't know if you guys have ever had like Wagyu beef, but I would say like that's kind of their standard beef here. So far so good with that. And Italian food here is obviously king as well, with Italy being not too far away. So the Italian food definitely stands above all as well.
Have you been just gorging yourself a little? Are you trying to take it easy? Because you're there for a couple weeks, right? So you can't just like absolutely go in a food coma for the first 5 or 6 days you're there.
Yeah, it's definitely a marathon. I'll be in Paris for 8 days and then in London for 6. But we actually have a scale at our Airbnb, and believe it or not, I've actually been losing weight day by day, which I've heard before. So my manager was in Europe for 2 weeks on his honeymoon about 2 weeks ago, and he said he came back 12 pounds lighter than when he went in 2 weeks. So he lost 12 pounds, and he said he gorged himself. So the food here is very light. Like I had a big pasta last night, and I felt like I could go run a marathon after. It felt like I didn't even eat anything, but I was full. So pretty cool feeling, honestly.
So you're going to be one of those TikTok influencers that's like, I ate so much over in Europe and I still somehow lost weight. Like everybody needs to move to Europe right now.
Nah, that'll definitely be my wife, but I'll chime in on that as well. she's already looking up. So when you walk down the streets, the real estate groups here have, like, in the windows, they have pictures of all the apartments and houses for sale. She's already planning our life here, dude. It's spiraling pretty quick.
Dude, you can be our French correspondent. That would be great. You'll be a regular.
I've been working on my French too. It's pretty bad, but I try. I think that's another reason that they have been treating me well is we put in at least a little effort and don't just assume that they need to speak English to me. So
See, so whenever I've been in like Scotland and I've never actually I've been to Italy, I haven't been to France, but I almost
hmm
feel like I I don't know how the native people of the country take it when you try to speak their language to them because you sound like because in Scotland when I was with one of the dudes, he was trying to speak in like a Scottish accent, and I'm like, this is the worst shit of my life. Like this is
just some
fucking
fake
terrible.
broken accent. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know if the French are like just stop even trying to do that, or if they actually appreciate it.
Well, Lauren, my wife, she did the whole Babbel. I don't know if you guys know what Babbel is, where you can like buy the French course to learn to speak. So she's been doing that for 6 months. So she's got it down pretty packed. So essentially, our game plan when we go anywhere is you always greet, bonjour out the gate. They appreciate that. And then she asks in French, do you guys speak any English? And the fact that you ask that in French, it really goes a long way, at least in their culture. Like, all right, at least they're trying. So if they do speak English, then they're more willing to talk to you that way versus just going up and saying, hello, like, do you speak English? And they're just like, who the heck is this guy? Like, get out of my face. So it's been
So
nice doing that.
otherwise she just orders for you at restaurants like you usually do in America then?
Yeah, she still wears the pants over there. Don't worry, or over here, I should say. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Doesn't
I was
matter
gonna
what
say
country.
she's the menu expert. So
me in that situation would just be like, yeah, you can speak for me, you can order for me. I don't know. And if I
yeah,
walked up to somebody and asked if I'd learn, do you speak English? And they'd be like, no, and then I'd just turn around and go somewhere else.
all right. I guess we're going to the next restaurant.
Or just a lot of
Yeah,
pointing at the menu.
I do a lot of that. Yes, and a lot of we
Spencer's
when
like,
they say something that I think I know I understand. We, but outside of that, that's pretty much where it cuts off. And merci, thank you.
yeah, Spencer's like, you guys got like a Chipotle around here? Or fucking, can I get a Mexican
I
bowl somewhere?
My
I
palate's
will
more
say
refined than that.
so. My wife and I haven't eaten fast food in over a year back in America, but we had to try fast food here, like the American fast foods. They have McDonald's, KFC. I even saw Chick-fil-A's everywhere. But the McDonald's menu out here is wild. They have all kinds of new menu items. So I was like, I gotta try this. So I had a, I think they call it a French maple bacon quarter pounder, which, oof, that was absolute fire. And then they actually messed up our order and included this popcorn caramel McFlurry. I don't know if they have that in the States or not. I've never had it. But that was also to die for. So the menu out here is a lot different, but pretty dang good, I have to say.
So even the McDonald's in France are better than the McDonald's in America.
Yeah, better for you too, I'm sure, and better tasting. So
We just like to do everything like Texas, just the bigger the better.
pretty much, they have two menus here too. It's they call it the deluxe and then the standard menu. So if you do the standard, it's like smaller burgers and portions. I don't know exactly what the portions are, but the deluxe would be like the American sized, basically. So
The deluxe is a double quarter pounder on a full baguette.
yeah, pretty much, pretty
I
much, yeah.
saw this thing on Twitter that was like it was an American. They're like I walked into a restaurant in Australia and the guy goes, "Are you from America?" And he goes, "Yeah, how did you know?" And he goes, "Cuz you're the fattest fuck in here." So, I think that's how maybe we're looked at internationally, unfortunately. But actually, here's a question. What do you think's cost relative to like America? What does like an entree at dinner cost? Is it comparable?
Yeah, so right now we just ate, and there was four of us, and I think the bill came to about 70 euros, and it was like pasta, pizza. I think the average meal was like 14, 15 euros plus drinks. So I would say pretty comparable. I think the exchange rate right now is like every euro is $1.20, I want to say, or roughly like that. So
Got
I think 70 euros translates to probably like 80 bucks, somewhere around there. It's not bad. Pretty similar, I would say.
that
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's a good setup. So let's talk about the golf first of all. I had a fucking brain fart
Stroking
there.
out on me there, buddy.
I was gonna go. Yeah, maybe I'm just fucking losing it. It's Friday. So let's talk about the golf. And first of all, I want to start with, I know, so you went to UCCS with me. We've been friends for fucking, God, almost 13, 14 years now. How many golf tournaments have you been to in America, though? Because you've lived in Colorado, but then you live in Texas. So have you been to a fair amount of PGA Tour or Korn Ferry or whatever events in the States to compare like this to, essentially?
I have, yeah. So I've, without counting it, probably double digits, like 10, between 20, 10 and 12. You went to the Dell Match Play, which is in Austin, Texas, every year for I think the 7 years it was there, and then the Valero for 4 years, and then I've been to Dallas, Charles Schwab twice. So yeah, I would say 13 events, I think, is what that adds up to. So a fair amount.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I wanted to get your thoughts on just the whole run of the show, if you will. I can't think of the other word for it right now. The infrastructure of like, it's definitely going to be more attended, this golf event than a Valero Texas Open. It's probably rival to like probably a major or Ryder Cup. But how is the infrastructure in terms of getting in? We go to the Waste Management every year, and that's just an absolute shit show. But it's kind of supposed to be. But what is that part of it like around the grounds and the concessions and all that kind of stuff? Because my last memory of being at, I was at a Korn Ferry Tour event here in Colorado a couple weeks ago, and it was great, but we had a box and a suite and all that stuff. So going to the Waste Management's a complete joke. So what was it like over there, and what were the attendance and crowds like?
So yeah, as far as the setup goes, pretty efficient, honestly. I mean, you would hope that the Olympics would run in a pretty efficient event. But so our Airbnb is in Paris. We caught a train out to Versailles, and then from there we hopped on an Olympic bus, like a sanctioned Olympic bus that took us to Le Golf National. Upon arrival, I would say the biggest pet peeve I had upon arrival is I felt like they stuck us in the back of the property, and we had to walk, I don't know, a good 15 minutes just to even get to the course, really. So that was kind of not good out the gate. It was sprinkling that morning as well, so not the greatest entrance. But beyond that, I would say the infrastructure was pretty good. I did notice a lack of leaderboards, unfortunately. On the PGA events I've been to, usually you can find a leaderboard at least every 3 to 4 holes, if not sooner than that, right? Here, I think I saw 2 on the entire property. So I was having to kind of refresh my phone, and I know me and you were conversing over Instagram, and Mitch as well, a little bit about what was going on. Outside of the holes I was seeing, I didn't really have much updates other than on my phone. So that was probably the biggest thing from an infrastructure standpoint. The scoring, too, is a little different. I know we were talking about that as well, Spence, but the sign people that kind of carry around the scores for each group. Obviously, in the States, you have even and then minus and plus. Here, the minus and plus was still the same, but the colors were different. Red was still minus, and then plus was actually blue. And then instead of even, it just said par, like the word. So that threw me off for a second because I didn't know if that was like the score they got on the hole or their total score. But yeah, other than that, everything else was pretty familiar. I mean, they had a good amount of food set up. European porta potties are wild, so that's something different. But yeah, other than that, I would say pretty standard from the other events I went to, yeah.
Give us the rundown on the European porta potty. What's that scenario look like?
Well, some of them had like a vent on the bottom, like the floor, that was sucking the air out, I guess to kind of help with the, smell, at least the couple I was in. And it was a very weird feeling. And then on top of that, the Europeans are wild. So you come out of the porta potty and you had like where you would, wash your hands and whatnot. And there was people drinking from that faucet, dumping their heads. Granted, it was like 95 degrees out there, which everyone was dying. I was, being from Texas, I'm like, oh, this is right up my alley. But the French people and people from up north, like Sweden and Norway that were also there in England, were dying. So they were like drinking the bath water basically, or like the hand water in the bathroom. It was just a wild scene altogether. But I would say the porta potty situation was a little different for sure.
Well, sucking the shitty air out and the gross smell is actually maybe something the United States should invest in. It
did help with the smell for sure. It was just it was like you're almost getting AC up where it shouldn't go in a way. But where the sun don't shine.
Nice. Like an air bidet type of thing, just fucking getting some some airflow down there was probably
Getting some
very,
airflow.
yeah, airflow would definitely
I,
help.
Yeah, I don't know
I
what
guess
it
on
is
a
with
steamy day, yeah.
European toilets, but they don't like American toilets. They just take things in. European toilets also send things out towards you, so it's kind of an interesting development there with the toilet situation.
Yeah, unfortunately, our Airbnb doesn't have a bidet. I was kind of hoping it did. It's just a standard flush
Just
toilet.
just your standard toilet. Hey, Mitt, real
Just your
quick,
standard.
before we get into a little bit more of the golf, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Lucy Nicotine. We have fully made the switch. I order nothing but Lucy Nicotine now. It's 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco free. You have it in pouches, you have gum, and you have the breakers. I got back on my wintergreen grind, and I will say, remember Mitch when we talked and I first originally ordered the mint because that's what that's kind of my go-to flavor with my old nicotine company. And I wasn't a big fan of the mint right off the bat, but I've reordered the mint and just got it in about a week ago, and I love it. So I'm back on the mint train, and I'm usually cycling through. We got wintergreen, mint, apple ice, and then the berry citrus breakers. So I'm going through all four, keeping a variety in my backpack. So I'm always ready to, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, waking up in the morning with my cup of coffee, whatever it is, I'm always on the Lucy Nicotine. Make sure to head over to lucy.co/BDE. Level up your nicotine routine with Lucy and use promo code BDE to get 20% off your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co. Use code BDE to get 20% off. And as always, free shipping right to your door. Here comes a fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning: this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Also, our friends over at Bet365, we gave you our Bet365 big bet energy picks for the Olympics. Not doing too great. Mitchell's not a big fan of his Victor Hovland, Matthew Pavon picks. They have absolutely dicked him down, just like Wyndham Clark is doing to the United States of America team. Luckily, there's no team concept in this because Wyndham would be bringing the whole thing down, although he did play better today. But we had Xander Schauffele is still on the card. He is T1 right now, 2 more rounds left to go. Currently the most hot golfer in the world, golf-wise. And honestly, if he wins this, me and Greg were talking. Greg is obviously a big Texas guy. He's a big Scotty Scheffler guy, which I am now too, self-admittedly. But if Xander Schauffele wins this gold medal, he is by far, not by far, arguably the best golfer on the planet. You can do all your golf betting through Bet365. Use the code ALLCITY when you sign up, and you get to choose between 2 different offers of a first bet safety net of $1,000 or betting $5 to get 150 in bonus bets when you use that code ALLCITY. Must be 21 plus or physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. There's so much to gamble on in the Olympics. You can bet on all the sports. Head over to the Bet365 app and check that out for yourself. Use that code ALLCITY, and you're getting 2 sweet offers when you first sign up to be able to use those and bet on the golf, bet on the Olympics. And we got football. We had a football game last night here in America. First one of the year, Hall of Fame game. So that season is right around the corner. It's fully time to get your bets in every single Sunday with Bet365. All right, Greg. So the infrastructure, decent. What was the crowd like? Because it felt like watching it on TV. I did want to point, me and you kind of talked off camera before we started. The scoring sucks, personally. Mitchell, you watch a lot of DP World Tour, and you weren't having the conversation with us. What is your thoughts on, before we get to the crowd, on like the scoring on the TV? Because I don't particularly like the green and the red highlights for birdies and bogeys because the whole scoreboard's blue. So you can't really see, you're like really have to look to be able to see whether it's a birdie or a par. Now the bogeys are easy to see because they're red, but like I'm not a big fan of the on TV bugs and the scoreboards.
Well, the funny thing is that your standard scoreboard red is a birdie. Like that's red numbers, so those are birdies. So it's actually the exact opposite. And then blue is a par and green is a birdie. Like I guess in the sense of like a stoplight thing, like a green red type deal, birdies a go, bogeys a stop type of deal. But yeah, the scoreboard itself was very hard to interpret. So yeah, I don't know why they went out, like try to reinvent the wheel and change the colors on the scoreboard. But also, Greg, real quick before we talk about the crowds, I wanted to ask, did you go into the merch tent obviously they had a merch tent, and like, do they have like merch for every different country, or what does that look like?
Yeah, actually, this should have been in one of my disappointments, but the merch tent was not great. They only had France stuff for like team apparel for like any golf polos.
Okay.
Didn't have anything golf related. It was basically all Olympics related. So you could buy like Olympic shirts with the rings, Paris 2024 stuff like that. I was hoping, my goal was to get like a Le Golf National shirt or something like that I could remember the course by. Not a single thing branded in there with the course name, which I was like, okay. But then I tried to find like an American polo, golf polo, couldn't find that. So the merch tent, big disappointment. So yeah, that would be my answer to that. Unfortunately, I haven't been. We're going to be at the basketball stadium here in a second to watch the France Germany game, so I'll see how the merch is there. But yeah, at the golf, not ideal.
That's insane, and what a lost opportunity for them. Because with the Olympics, I mean, obviously you're over there from America. There's a ton of people over there from America. There's people there from Paraguay, Uruguay, fucking Spain, everywhere. And they're like,
What a poll, Paraguay and Uruguay. What the fuck?
Yeah, you pulled that out of thin air.
I just remember like I was looking at the leaderboard, and one of the dudes at the very end was one of like, I think it was Kierdek, Affy Barnrat, and then Wyndham Clark, and then somebody else. But
Spencer's like, we have people from the United States and Paraguay over there. Just two of the biggest populations in fucking the entire world. But no, actually, that's another good question. Sorry to cut you off, Spencer. Who's like the second most, besides Americans? Who's like the second biggest demographic watching the golf, or just like at the games in general?
Well, at the actual course, there was actually I wouldn't say few Americans, but if I had to rank the contingents by country, France obviously biggest by far. And then Great Britain, there was a lot of Tommy Fleetwood fans, a lot of Ireland fans too. Shane Lowry, there was a massive gallery following Shane Lowry and Rory, obviously. Then probably Sweden, Norway, and then America. So I would say US is probably sixth in terms of fans out there. I mean, France by far just dominated.
So all the French fans are out there to watch Matthew Pavon take a lay shit down his leg.
Yeah, he bogeyed a hole, and I've never heard people cheer louder for a bogey. I'll just say that it was wild. The French they're behind their. One thing I do respect is they're behind their athletes. I feel like Americans turn on their teams pretty quick when they start playing like shit. Not here, not here. He could have shot 80, and they would have cheered their life away.
Yeah, I'd be hitting him with the fucking hard thumbs down. I'd be booing his ass if he's making bogeys. But I also feel like that's somewhat of like a European golf fan thing where they're respectful regardless. Like you could make a 12 on a hole and they'd still clap when you tapped it in. Like I feel like that's just kind of a standard thing all throughout Europe where they don't have people screaming fucking mashed potatoes and light the candle and all this shit. They're just like giving that little golf clap and being pretty quiet for the most part.
Yeah, there wasn't much booing. Obviously, I would say even for Americans like making good shots, there was big cheers, even though they weren't American fans per se. So all around, pretty welcoming. I would say it was nice. Talked to a bunch of cool people from France and Great Britain who were very knowledgeable about the game. Obviously, Spencer mentioned, and as well, Mitch. We're the three of us. I feel like are in the small, minute people that know golf pretty well in and out. So had a lot of conversations with people like that over there, which was really refreshing.
Yeah, it's kind of like France is I mean, obviously having the Olympics because there's a shitload of other sports other than golf, but I feel like it's not golf wise. It's not like a well-known thing like it is in Ireland and Scotland, stuff like that. So maybe an underrated place to be. And Le Golf National has hosted, of course, a Ryder Cup and now an Olympics. So what is the golf course like in terms of condition? Did you hear Rory McIlroy's statement before the Olympics started? They asked him how thick the rough was and if it was as thick back in the Ryder Cup days. And he goes, I don't know. You're going to have to ask the Americans. I wasn't in it much. So he got his little dig in. They can only win on European soil. So, whatever. He can talk his shit. And he's, once again, a non-factor this week in the Olympics. But what is the rough in the golf course like? And it really is, we kind of talked about it in our course preview on Wednesday, but it's really an interesting golf course from a standpoint of the finish is great. And there's a lot of different, like, it's almost like it's kind of set up for a match play, which it was, you know, the Ryder Cup. It was like really a big deal that it hosted it, but it's like it's got some very risk reward holds. There's a lot of water. Wyndham Clark found it multiple times in his first 3 tee shots. But how would you rate it compared to like American courses?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say I was hoping to get a good gauge for the course when the first American went off with Wyndham, but unfortunately he just found the water over and over. I was like, at least show me something from the fairway or the rough. But yeah, I would say as far as American courses are concerned, I'll default to TPC San Antonio since that's probably the one that maybe most people can relate to, or Torrey Pine since I've played there. Rough a little bit shorter than Torrey. I would say overall when I was standing in it, it was about 3.5, 4 inches. So decently sized, but not too overgrown. Obviously, you have your first cut, then the second cut, primary rough, and then beyond that was fescue. The fescue obviously was dead, so anyone in there was pretty much hosed. But conditioned wise, absolutely pure. I mean, you could eat off those tee boxes. They were so nice. They were pretty much greens, which is usually a telltale sign about how good a course is going to be. If their tee boxes look just like their greens, I've noticed that it's going to be pretty mint. So greens were obviously running pure. Bunkers were raked beautifully. I would say the rough was decent, although I feel like Rory found it a lot day one. But yeah, it was, I would say overall, up to expectations. I would put it probably major level, maybe a little bit below, but pretty comparable.
I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with what 3.5 to 4 inches looks like, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things that's that long of rough. I think they're able to dig it out of there pretty well. I'm sorry, I just
Right.
had to. You teed that one up, and I had to knock it out of the park. But what else on the course did you notice? Anything out of the norm that you would compare like a PGA Tour event to what's going on this week over in France?
I would say nothing too out of the norm outside of maybe infrastructure and just the kind of overall aesthetic of the course. We don't get a lot of fescue courses in America, obviously, but I would say pretty standard. Nothing really stood out. There was a lot of water on obviously the front 9. Wyndham obviously found it on the first 3 holes. The fairways were also very tight. It seemed. I felt like I don't actually know the statistics on how tight those fairways are, but I felt like some holes maybe 30 yards, 25 yards wide at some points too, and like right in their landing zones. Like number 3, that par 5 where Wyndham hit it in the water right. We were standing right where everyone's ball was landing, like on the side, and it looked super narrow. So I would say probably from a standpoint of fairway width, probably a little bit more narrow than what they're used to in the States. But I don't know, maybe you guys have the stats on that. That's just what it seemed like for me in person.
Yeah, and well, in that finishing stretch as well, the fairways are crazy narrow too.
Yeah, for sure. They that finishing stretch is pretty beastly, and I feel like the last 2 holes were playing dead into the wind too. So it kind of added a little extra layer there. But yeah, I would say the fairways were by far the thing that stood out to me the most. I feel like the greens were pretty. I saw a lot of people chip in and almost chip in. So the greens around the green complexes were pretty easy to navigate. I would say just getting off the tee was probably their biggest kind of hurdle on the day.
Yeah, it doesn't look too. When you think European golf, you think more links style, and the course from our vantage point's not too linksy, but it definitely still has a few of those runoff areas. But it feels more like kind of your tougher, you know, not Midwest necessarily, but with the fescue, with the rough, more of like a U.S. Open type of venue is kind of what it looks like on TV.
Yeah, for sure.
So we actually have some photos. If you guys are watching on the YouTube, great. If you're not, make sure to head over to the YouTube Big Drive Energy Golf and check these out. But these are some of Greg's photos. We didn't use your picture for the thumbnail because the Olympics is like super strict on certain things. So we're going to get those in here. But yeah, you got a little see right there, like there's no room right. Like you have nothing. And who is that? Greg, can you see those?
Yeah, I can. That was Scotty on hole 7, I believe.
Okay, and not pictured as your you bricked up below the camera, probably.
I was actually hoping you guys were watching. I was screaming "Hook 'em horns" in a couple of his after his shots. Maybe get that on TV.
He was too into the. You didn't get run over there, did you?
I did not. No,
okay, good.
Just to my right.
Do they drive? What side of the road do they drive on over there? Is it the left side?
Same side as America, actually. I think
okay.
London is opposite, which I thought France would be too, but no, it's the same side.
And then like Ubers and shit, that's pretty standard. Like when the last time we went to Europe, it was we were 13, so it was 17, 18 years ago. There was no such thing as like Uber. We were staying with a family that lived there, so we had a car and stuff like that. Obviously we weren't old enough to drive yet, but is Uber and everything, it's pretty much just standard.
Yeah, same Uber. We actually took an Uber to the stadium just now from our hotel, but that and the subway in Paris at least, and not so much here in Lille, but in Paris, you can get everywhere within 10, 15 minutes on the subway. It's pretty efficient.
That's so
It's
nice.
usually
That's one thing we just don't have in America, that when you go to like London, even like the one thing I was impressed with London is like the Google Maps. When you Google Maps something or Apple Maps, it like gives you the subway routes and like actually tells you step by step, like get off at this stop and get onto this train at this stop. Like I was really impressed with that whole infrastructure part of it, because we don't have that in America. But what we do have in America is Shady Rays. And shout out to Greg. Greg is my guy that I talk about on the pod every week. He texts me to get that code. Got himself some Shady Rays. Are you wearing your Shady Rays out in France this week, or did you forget them at home?
I am. Big fail, though. I forgot them in Paris. I have them, but I don't have them with me in Lille right now. But luckily, it's a night game, so I won't need them coming out of the stadium. But yeah, I was wearing them at golf for sure. Lifesaver.
Attaboy. Yep. Shady Rays. Use that code AC35. I wear my Shady Rays during the pod. I have a couple in my truck. I have a pair in my backpack. And, of course, the Green Wolves in my golf bag. They never leave it, ideally, unless I have too many drinks and pull it out of there and bring it into my house. But it goes right back into the golf bag. But Shady Rays are our favorite sunglasses. They have durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures, especially golf. And they probably have them in your favorite team's colors. There's so many different fits, options, lenses for you to check out. So head over to shadyrays.com. They're giving you, our listener, the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code AC35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Also, our great friends over at Coors Light. Coors Light is a beer I always reach for when I need a moment to chill. It's Friday afternoon. Coors Light on the golf course is in my future. Got a 5:30 tee time tonight, a little twilight round. Gonna definitely be hammering some Coors Lights, get some from the Bev Cart lady. Coors Light is the beer I reach for whether I'm playing golf and have the twist-off cans, or at home and also have the twist-off cans, because my kid loves to stick his hands on anything and everything. So having the twist-off cans at the house is super nice, because I don't have to worry about forgetting it on the coffee table. Make sure to check out Coors Light. Get your favorite beer delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Struggling to find the read there, but definitely Coors Light guy through and through. Can't wait to have some on a Friday. That is by far the best. Coors Light is the after work Friday Coors Light. Now that reminds me, let's ask Greg, what is the beer situation like? They got Coors Light there, or is it just is there like because when you go to like the East Coast, they got Yuengling, or like in Wisconsin, they have what is that called? I was drinking it a couple weekends ago. Spotted Cow, like certain things that is there, like, are they pushing those French beers on you, or is there like a bunch of Coors Light, Bud Light, all that stuff?
They got the standard stuff. Definitely Coors, Budweiser, Bud Light. Got the Mexican beers too. They do have a French beer called Leafy that was actually pretty good. Said it was brewed since 1294, which I thought was kind of wild.
Jesus Christ. That's not
They've
even
had a lot of years to refine that. I know. But that was very good. But yeah, they still got the standard stuff, so they got taste for everybody.
Okay, so what other events are you attending at the Olympics? What you're going to basketball tonight? What have you been to, and like what else are you going to see throughout the week?
Yeah, basketball tonight. We got women's indoor volleyball on, I want to say, Wednesday, and then that'll be it. So it's just golf, basketball, and volleyball.
Sweet. Is there like a ticket package where like you buy, or do you buy everything individually, or how does that part of it work? Or is there's something you can buy where it just gets you into every Olympic event?
Yeah, basically it works just like the Masters if you've ever signed up for their lottery system. It's a lottery system. We were lucky enough to get picked, and you basically have a window that you can buy whatever is available at that time. We got one of the last sessions, so track and field, gymnastics, swimming, like the big three were sold out, unfortunately, which is kind of the ones I wanted to see as well. Obviously, basketball, volleyball, and golf were top list too, but yeah, and then you buy per game. It's a per game situation. So we bought prime time to basketball, volleyball, and there was no prime time golf, but one round of golf basically.
What is the volleyball game you guys are seeing? What countries?
It's a semifinal matchup, so we don't know
fuck
yet, but it'll be a good matchup. Yeah,
Love that.
That'll be very sick.
hopefully the U.S. Yeah.
Right. Well, Spence, do we want to let Greg go? I'm sure he's got places to be.
Yeah, so you're about to attend the France game. I bet that's going to be off the charts because obviously Wemby. Who else is on that team? Is there any other big NBAers on that team?
Gobert.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I would say big. I would say no, mainly Wemby, but I think they said they have 7 NBA players on the team. Biggest one being Wemby and Gobert. I think their third most NBA players won. Canada I think has 10, and obviously US all of them. But so it should be a good matchup. They're playing Germany, who I believe has 6. So
they're
both medal
all the
favorites.
Wagner kids on
Yeah,
the German
pretty
team.
much. Wagner's.
Did you see the photo of Wemby and the dude from, I don't want to fuck it up, but some Asian country? Just the difference in size. Japan. Yeah, that was maybe one of the photos of the Olympics. There was that one that surfaced of the surfing guy that was like up in the air. I don't know how that's even a photo, to be honest, but I think the photo of the Olympics so far was definitely Wemby and the guy from Japan, because that's like the fact that somebody that's 5'4" looks like a complete midget. Like, I can't imagine how big Wemby looks in real life. He looks huge on camera and on TV, and he's playing a bunch of other dudes that are 6'10", 6'6", but I can only imagine what he looks like in person.
Yeah, I'm excited. I actually didn't get to make it to a Spurs game this past season, which, shame on me. But so this will be my first time seeing him in person. I did see that photo, though, and I thought it was absolutely photoshopped. I was like, no way that someone in the Olympics on a roster is that small. And it turns out he is. I think he was, 5'4", 5'5", and he was basically up to Wemby's waist, it felt like. So very interesting. But yeah, that was a pretty cool picture. And that surfer picture, apparently that guy won the gold, caught a wave, and then immediately jumped off and just held up the number 1. And someone caught the picture at the perfect moment where he's just like floating in midair. Saw that too. It was pretty cool.
That was incredible. Well, hey, Mitch, you got anything else? Or you good?
Well, all I was going to ask is give us your prediction for the golf. Who's walking away with the gold medal on Sunday afternoon?
I'm a little biased, but he's also playing great. I'm going to go with Xander. I think if I'm having to give a score, I would say 18 gets it done.
18 under Xander Schauffele. I've been missing out on betting him. I thought he was a fraud, and he has repeatedly proved me wrong this season. So I wouldn't be shocked if he did that again on Sunday. I like that pick.
Yeah, I think it'll be him or Fleetwood. Maybe he'll win something that matters for once. So,
bro,
he can get bent.
We have him on our blacklist. He's a blacklisted guy that we bet on. We bet on certain guys over and over, and they just break our hearts over and over. They go on the blacklist. Ironically, right now we're still trying to workshop who else is on it, because I know we've said more people, but it's 2 guys named Tom Hogue and Tommy Fleetwood. So it would just be like Tommy Fleetwood to win this fucking event when it's not. Mitchell did mention him because it's like he's like maybe because it's not on American soil or a PGA Tour event. So. Tommy Fleetwood winning this would be insane.
Victor Hovland is working his way towards the blacklist for me as well.
He's also working his way to a new coach again, so we'll see how that goes.
Bro, what kind of professional golfer jumps
planet.
coaches like that? And he does as well as he did at the Tour Championship last year, and then proceeds to fire Joseph Mayo, and then he hires him back, plays well again. And it's just like, bro, fucking shit or get off the pot. Figure it out. Like, I cannot believe, for as talented as he is, that he's like that much of a mental case.
Big head scratcher move. I agree. I never understood that. So he's back with him now, though, right? I know he fired his coach that he started this year with and went back to him, I believe.
Yeah. So now he's with him again. But I mean, if he's playing like this, like, well, dude, I mean, him and Pavon are beating like 5 or 6 guys in the entire field. So
one of them's Wyndham. Yay.
Actually, I think Wyndham fired like 4 or 5 under today, so I think he's like 1 under total, maybe.
He did.
But
I mean, yesterday I needed a snorkel to be able to watch him yesterday, so wasn't gonna do that.
Yeah, he had to bring a whole box of balls out on the course with him.
Pretty much. He stopped at the pro shop at 9.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Greg,
Oh,
thanks so
fuck.
much for taking the time to join us, man. Enjoy the France basketball game. Enjoy watching Wemby. Enjoy just being over there. I mean, it's likely, your company goes on this like massive fucking breach. The whole internet's down, and then you're like, oh, well, I'm going to the fucking Olympics. Sorry, boys. You're going to have to deal with that at home alone. So good timing on the trip.
Pretty much. I almost didn't make it here because the airlines are still hurting from us, but at least American was up and running.
Good old American Air. Well, appreciate it, Greg. Enjoy your time, man. And we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, boys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Appreciate you, man.
Later.
Bye.
What a good dude. What a good time he's probably having, dude. I like, would you want to go to the Olympics? Like, it seems, I don't know, dude. The older I get, like, maybe it's the idea of having a kid, and maybe when he gets older and can actually go on longer trips, I might be more into it. But like 4 or 5 days right now for me seems like a lot. That's like my capping point. Like being gone for 2 weeks, I don't know if I could do it.
Well, I can tell you the next Olympics are in LA, the Summer Olympics, and you won't catch me dead in LA. You couldn't pay me to go there. So I'm going to pass on that. I will be interested to see what golf course they select to play the Olympics on when they're in LA, because it'll probably be LACC, and Wyndham will have a chance there if he makes the team. The Wyndham slander has gotten a little out of hand, and everybody has jumped in on it, including us. But he's not as bad as it seems like he's been recently, and we talked about it earlier this morning. But I think it kind of comes down to him just being relatively unlikable. So people like want to root against him to begin with. So unless he's winning and playing well, I think he's going to catch a lot of shit. But it's just kind of funny in general. Like I said, he played well today, but I'm definitely joining in on the Wyndham shit talk a little bit. He beat the shit out of us enough now that the tables have turned.
Yeah, exactly. We're enjoying watching random like CT Pan beat the shit out of him at Le Golf National. Yeah, it is a little out of hand. Somebody tweeted, which we were talking about this morning. It was basically like it's everybody in America is acting like they brought Hudson Swafford over there, and somebody's like, why the Hudson Swafford stray? And he goes, I just scrolled a live leaderboard and went down to like the bottom and found the first American at the bottom. So that's where Hudson Swafford's currently living. But Rombo's playing well. I mean, it does seem like a little bit of a runaway now, but Hideki making double on the last hole kind of brought the entire field back into it. Now, of course, we know a lot happens in golf. Tomorrow is moving day, Saturday at the Olympics, but the leader being at 11 to start and having 3 guys up there, and Tommy Ladd, Xander Schauffele, and Hideki Matsuyama brings guys that are like 5, 6 back into the fold, which there's quite a few guys right in that 6 under par range. And Thomas Dietrich today fired 63. So it's definitely out there. It's gettable. I think there's been 3 or 4 63s now. So it's honestly one of those where it's like, it feels like a major championship in terms of the like stress from the players, the level of, importance to them in their careers, but it also, the scoring doesn't quite feel major. Like it feels like these guys are going a little deeper than at a normal US Open or Open Championship venue for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I honestly think that you have to be at least 4 under par going into this weekend to have even an outside chance. You got to obviously put together 2 very good rounds, but that leaves Schauffele, Matsuyama, Fleetwood, Dietrich, Pan, Kim, Jaeger. Guido Migliozzi's been playing well. He actually won the DP World Tour event here, like we had talked about. And then you've got, I'm not going to read all the names, but we've got Ludwig Aubert and Colin Morikawa both at 4 under, which I think, and then Rory at 5 under. So I think anywhere in that area will be, I think they're still within reach at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Because if they go out and fire, 64, 63, 64 tomorrow, I think, Greg predicted 18 under. So Xander sounds like he'll be, he's not going to run away with it, obviously, because there's 2 very good players in Tommy Fleetwood and Hideki Matsuyama up there. But the guys are going to need to stay going lower because I don't think the conditions have been pretty calm. You know, the wind is not that insane. It's obviously very hot there, but the guys seem to be dealing with it pretty well in all the low scores we're seeing. So thank you guys all for tuning in to this halfway home edition of Big Drive Energy. We've got the Olympics, the men obviously playing this week. The women will kick it off starting early next week throughout all the Olympics. We've got some bets down for both of them. Make sure you're tuning into Big Drive Energy Live every single Monday and Wednesday. I am at Big Drive Spence. He is at Big Drive Mitch. Make sure to give us a thumbs up on the way out if you're watching on the YouTube. We'd appreciate it. Subscribe, Big Drive Energy Golf. That wraps it up for us. We will talk to you guys on Monday and crown a new golden Olympic champion. Hopefully it's Xander Schauffele, and we're making some money on the Bet365 app. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday. Peace.
Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.